We'll start the presentation of the Carolyn Shaw Bell Award. The award is for promoting the careers of other women in economics, and we have a phenomenally wonderful winner this year who needs no introduction, but Marianne Bittler will make a few remarks about Janet, followed by Cecilia Rouse. Okay.
I'm going to be very brief because I know everybody would rather hear Janet speak than me. So I just want to thank some people who helped me get this list of nominations: Matt Nidell, who's here, Anna Izier, Doug Almond, and Hillary Hoynes. And I want to say this is the easiest nomination ever. Some of the people I contacted who are sitting up here, like Reed and Katie here, they found other people, and all I had to do is put all the PDF files together. Okay, so Janet's an inspiring mentor for me, and I learned from many, many other people. I already thought she was more productive than I could ever hope to be, and then I learned how many other people's lives she's touched. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, next we have Cecilia Rouse, Dean of the Woodrow Wilson School at Princeton, and Janet's boss.
Not really. Okay. I guess I have to stand up here. I just feel like I'm very tall. Anyway, it's my great pleasure and honor to introduce Janet Currie, the Henry Putnam Professor of Economics and Public Affairs at Princeton, as this year's recipient of the Carolyn Shaw Bell Award. The Bell Award was created in January of 1998 as part of the 25th anniversary of the founding of CSWEP. Carolyn Shaw Bell, upon her death in 2006 was the Catherine Coman Chair Professor Emerita of Wellesley College, was the first chair of CSWEP. The award is given annually to an individual who has furthered the status of women in the economics profession through example, achievements, increasing our understanding of how women can achieve what women can achieve in the economics profession, or mentoring others. I describe the award because I believe Janet truly embodies its intent and is an inspired choice. A 1982 graduate of the University of Toronto, yes, she's a Canuck, she traveled south to pursue her doctorate in economics at Princeton. Her career has taken her to Los Angeles, California, to Cambridge, Massachusetts, back to LA, then back again to the East Coast, first to Columbia, and then in 2011 to Princeton. During that time, she has served as department chairs at Columbia and now at Princeton, which we all know is the ultimate sacrifice for one's profession, and has served as editor of the Journal of Economic Literature and is currently an editor of The Future of Children. She also currently serves as the co-director of the Princeton Center for Health and Wellbeing. In addition to this professional service, her research has made important contributions to our understanding of the health and well-being of children, including early intervention programs, expansions of public health insurance, public housing, and food and nutrition programs. Her current research focuses on socioeconomic differences in child health, environmental threats to children's health, and the long-term effects of poor health in early childhood. One notable and relevant research contribution was that she was co-PI on the initial NSF grant that funded the CMENT mentoring workshops and led the research team that produced the only rigorous scientific evidence for the efficacy of a mentoring program. She has numerous articles in the profession's top journals, for which she's been recognized as a member of the Institute of Medicine, a fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, the American Academy of Political and Social Sciences, and the Econometric Society. She has also served as the vice president of the AEA, president of the Society of Labor Economists, and served on the CSWEP board. Clearly, by her achievements, she has furthered the status of women in the economics profession, if only by example. But those who know Janet know that her efforts extend far beyond her own research profile. While I was on the job market, okay, so that was a while ago, but that's all right, she offered me invaluable advice about navigating the job search and transition to the other side of the academic coin as a member of the faculty. As her colleague, I've seen her work tirelessly to both mentor other young students and faculty members, but also to advocate to the hiring of women in our department, which you guys can attest is no small feat. Importantly, she does all of this while also being a devoted wife and loving and attentive mother. I do not believe that anyone can have it all, but Janet exemplifies magnificently how one can achieve balance in one's career and personal life. For all of these reasons and many more, I applaud CSWEP in their selection of Janet as this year's Carolyn Shaw Bell Award winner. Please join me in welcoming Janet Currie.
So thank you very much. One does feel very tall standing on this box. So it's a very great honor to be here, and I'm really touched by all the people who wrote letters on my behalf, and especially by Marianne, who organized the nomination. Thank you all so much. This really means a lot to me. As you know, as Cece just explained, the Carolyn Shaw Bell Award is given for various things. So I'm going to start with the last part of the charge which was about mentoring. And I take a lot of pride in the 38 PhD students that I have mentored at this point, along with trying to be a good colleague to junior economists more generally. But if it was only work, I probably wouldn't have done quite so much of it. I really enjoy learning from students and colleagues. I feel like a lot of what I know I've learned from you and working with you. And ours is really a very social profession. So these kind of relationships between mentors and mentees are lifelong relationships. I get tremendous pleasure out of seeing people's careers unfold and all the, interesting and wonderful things that happen along the way. Any success that I've had in mentoring other people really comes from imitation of some of the outstanding mentors that I've had. David Card really stands out in this respect. I'm not sure how many drafts of my papers he read as a graduate student. Probably it seemed like infinite number to him. And he was always available for advice and guidance. One of my favorite stories about David Card as a mentor happened after I'd had my first paper rejected. And it was one of those really miserable letters that you get where you feel like the person didn't even bother to read your paper. They just sort of dismissed it out of hand. So I went to him complaining about this, showed him this letter. And he didn't say anything. He just got up, went to his filing cabinet, opened it, took out this letter, and handed it to me. And it was the most horrible, vitriolic, personal attack on him for a paper that later got published in a top journal. So he didn't say anything, but the message was really clear that, this kind of stuff happens, and you just have to keep at it and ignore the slings and arrows along the way. When David came up for tenure at Princeton, the graduate students circulated a petition on his behalf, pointing out that he had advised about 2/3 of the existing students in the program at one way or another. I think this is the only time this ever happened at Princeton, and maybe at any top university. I've learned that one of the most important qualities in a mentor, besides their willingness to spend time on you and your problems, is honesty. My time at MIT marked a turning point in my career when I began working on the economics of children and families. And I can remember very well as a junior faculty member giving Jim Paterba my first effort in this brand new line of research. And I was really taken aback at his response. He said, well, this is really competent, it seems to be well done, but it's boring. And I was shocked. But it was then, I think, that I really fully grasped what my students know as the why we should care question, that this was really important. And I really should have caught on earlier because I had had other experiences like this. During my job talk at UCLA, which was my first job, I got about 5 minutes into the talk, and Finis Welch, who later hired me anyway, even though my response was inadequate, said to me, "Why should anybody care about unions when unions are dying?" And I had no idea what to say. It had never occurred to me that anybody wouldn't find my topic as fascinating as I found it. Later, Jim Smith came up to me and said, well, the snappy response would have been, why should anybody care about black-white wage differentials if blacks are only 10% of the population? But I wasn't up to making the snappy response at that point. So turning to the second part of the Bell Award citation, increasing our understanding of how women can advance in the economics profession. This is something that I think we're all still struggling with. As you saw that figure, the lines have kind of flatlined recently in terms of the fraction of women in different points in the academic job ladder. When I got my PhD in 1988, 3.4% of full professors in economics departments with PhD programs were women, and there were none at Princeton. Claudia Golden visited while I was a student there and was very inspirational as a role model. Now, 28 years later, 12.1% of full professors in PhD granting departments are women. So at this rate, it's going to take a very, very long time to reach parity. And more discouraging than that, I think, is that there still is a lot of overt discrimination. I think if I took a poll here and just asked young women, how many of you were asked at some point in your job search about your husband and partner and what they were going to do, probably a discouragingly large number of you would respond, yes, I was asked about that, even though it's illegal. And all of us have been parties to discussions where it was decided, okay, we're not going to offer a job to that woman because she probably won't come because of her partner. That happens with men too, but I think it happens a lot less often. Still, especially for younger women, I think it probably doesn't pay to dwell very much on that. I think I benefited enormously from being oblivious to the gender issues in economics as an assistant professor and just assuming that merit would be rewarded. They say that optimists do better even if the optimism is unfounded. So I think the best thing that junior women can do to advance the status of women in the economics profession is to be successful themselves. So that's what they should work at. But like many senior women who've achieved a certain level of professional success, I find that I'm becoming more activist with age. So many times it seems like just raising the issue of, hey, why aren't there any women in this search pool is enough to affect some sort of change. So it's kind of tedious fighting the same battle over and over and over and over and over. But even though the progress is slow, there is progress. We now have women Clark medalists, women editing major journals, women serving as deans, chairs of major departments. So it's important to keep in mind that progress is slow, but it is being made. And a final issue I want to address is what Cece mentioned at the end of her remarks about the question of work-life balance. So, far from having achieved it, I think I'm actually coming to the conclusion that the concept of work-life balance is flawed. It's flawed because it cannot be achieved. The idea defies the central economic concept of opportunity cost. And it's pernicious because it makes people feel like they're failures when they don't achieve it. There's always going to be a million demands on your time. So time that you spend with your family is time that you're not spending on your career, and vice versa. So I think people should just make the choices that make sense to them, try and feel good about it, live in the moment, and forget about trying to achieve balance, because it's just not going to happen. So perhaps instead of trying to strive for balance, a more realistic goal is to strive just to keep all the balls in the air. And for that, it's tremendously helpful and often essential to have a supportive partner. So my husband, Bentley McLeod, and I are approaching our 20th anniversary this year. And I just want to end by thanking him for all of his support, without which I wouldn't have been able to do half of the things that I've done. So thank you all very much.
So it is my privilege and honor to present you with this plaque that says you are the Carolyn Shaw Bell Award winner. But there's another thing. There's a big plaque like this. Looks like it belongs in a golf club with the annual winners of the tournament. Okay, and it has these little black brass plates on it. And it's currently being shipped to you from Hillary Hoynes. And you are obliged by the terms of winning this prize, to display it prominently at Princeton so that other women can look at it and say, hey, I can do that.